Warning. You have now entered a realm you cannot escape. Welcome to the future of podcasts. Move is about to begin. With your hosts, Patient Zero.
TGIF, everybody. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You know what time it is. And if you don't know, you better Google us. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. And if you don't know, you better stay tuned right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the hottest podcast on YouTube, point blank, period. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mixture of Variety. I go by the name of Patient Zero. Give it up one time. Oh, yes, indeed. Studio audience, give it up one time for yourself. All right, studio audience, yes, indeed. We having a good time. It's Friday. Having a good time. TGIF, yeah, let's do the seat dance. Come on. Hey, I'm watching you at home. Come get lost in the zone. Patient Zero here. You know how we do. We are one half short of Mixture of Variety Entertainment. But no worries, ladies and gentlemen. I know she's been MIA for about 6 weeks now. Who's counting? Believe it or not, you heard it here first. Unless you follow us on IG, then you heard it there first. Nikki P will be back, ladies and gentlemen, next week. Yes, indeed. I am extremely excited about that. I want to do a seat dance from now until next week, just for that reason alone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Another show. Got my Yes Indeed mug, so you know it's going to be a good show if I got my Yes Indeed mug. Yes, indeed. Sipping on some matcha tea, green tea, you know how it is. Hope everybody had a good week. Once again, as you can see, it's not a live show, but next week with Nikki P, I promise you it's going to be a live show, and it's going to be 9 p.m. sharp. Just like this show goes live as far as a YouTube premiere. It's just a YouTube premiere instead of an actual live show. But when I do the show myself, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just doing like an informative show and maybe educational at the same time. Hopefully entertaining. For the most part, I just pre-record it. Just because whenever I have the time to do it, I can do it and then bring it to you guys. And it'll premiere at 9 p.m. Friday night. And hopefully we can watch it together. So regardless, we're still on 9 p.m. Eastern every single week, regardless of if it's a live premiere or if it's a live show. All right? Mixture of Variety is a mixture of ideas and a variety of topics, which equals Mixture of Variety. We talk about a slew of topics, if you will. We talk about a massive variety of topics, and we can talk about anything from mental health. That's actually what we're talking about today. Mental health, mental illness, to addiction, which is kind of what we hit on the last couple of weeks because I hit my 3-year anniversary in sobriety. You guys can check out that show, my story. Anybody struggling with sobriety or knows somebody in addiction can definitely check that out and hear my story, hear my struggles, and hopefully it'll help you guys. That was from a show 2 weeks ago. And that's not all we talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about anything from that all the way to having sex with gay midget aliens, which is why I got my boy here. I don't know if he's gender specific or what he identifies as, but my alien head, which of course right now I'm telling you it has a mind of its own, ladies and gentlemen, because sometimes it just goes off and sometimes it just goes on. So it's very strange. Let's see what happens if I do this. Hey, there he is. There he is. So we talk about it all, basically, is what I'm trying to, what I'm getting at here. All right. Are you picking down what I'm dropping? Because I'm picking up what you're dropping. We're right here. We're connected. That's another thing too. I got the shades today too. I'm chilling. You know what I mean? I'm chilling. Got my chain on. I'm just ready. I feel the weekend in the air, and I'm excited about Nikki P. But and I will continuously say that throughout the show too, because I'm very excited. Some of the other topics that we talk about, however, are relationships and sex and mental health and addiction and stories in a rehab or halfway house. That's actually where Nikki P and myself met. We talk about aliens, conspiracy theories. We actually had a conspiracy theory show last week that I believe got shadow banned on YouTube. I'm not 110% sure, but I don't like the fact that there was a lot less people that were watching it, or a lot less people that even saw it, like even on their notification or the recommended side channel thing column, the recommended shows usually, and even some people that were subscribed to the channel, which I definitely recommend that you do. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment and share. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Still don't know exactly what happened. Hopefully it was just a one-time deal, and hopefully it wasn't something that I really have to worry about. What I do know is that we have to watch what we say on the tube, and we knew that ahead of time. We knew that going into this, and for the most part, we do. This is why I'm actually kind of surprised. I'm not even going to say anything else because I don't want it to happen to this show either. But I have a feeling that because of the topic we were talking about and because it wasn't live, it was like uploaded and YouTube already knew what we were going to discuss. And I didn't think it was anything that terrible. It could have been a lot worse. We could have definitely went left with it and talked about a whole bunch of different other shit that you cannot even talk about because it's truth. Anything that's truth gets covered and blocked and you get a strike and all that stuff. If it doesn't fit their narrative, you know how it is. But let me stop talking about that because the same thing's going to happen. You see, I can't help myself. I just can't help myself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save those type of shows, conspiracies and talking about the news and talking about my feelings on certain things, certain main topics that are going on in the world today, or things that are truth and don't fit their narrative. I'm going to discuss them like I've been doing for the last 320 plus shows on Spotify and Apple and Breaker and Anchor and Castbox.fm. All these apps are platforms that play podcasts that you can listen to our audio show. And so far, so good. The audio show has been fine. The audio show, I can talk about whatever I want. Probably that won't be the case if we when we blow up as a podcast, because if we were talking like I was talking on some of my podcasts and we were Joe Rogan, there's no chance in hell that they would let that fly. But we're not Joe Rogan. We are Nikki P and Patient Zero. So for right now, we're safe on there. So I definitely recommend that you check out our audio show. Now, our audio show, we have a couple of them. We have Sunday Spirituality, good way to start the week, rest, recovery, type of show, rest, recovery, rejuvenate type of week, or type of entry into the week. It is all about spirituality. That's basically all you need to know. Manic Monday, we have rapid fire topics. We talk about a lot of different topics in one show. A lot of people like that. A lot of people don't like that, but that's just what we're doing for right now. Because we are a variety show and we talk about a huge variety of topics, not just the highlighted key subjects that we were talking about or the key topics that we were talking about just now. We talk about so much more. Obviously, we have over 300 shows, but we like to keep it on one topic at a time. All right, so tonight's show is going to be mental illness and mental illness related. We're going to just be talking about mental illness. The only rapid fire topic show that we have is Monday. or Mondays, and that's Manic Monday because there's a lot of manic energy and it's the beginning of the week and et cetera, et cetera. Wednesday is when we usually have our sex show. Nikki P and I have our sex show if we are doing the show together. If we're not doing the show together, then I just do something and we talk about some other topic. You know, the beautiful thing about having a variety show is that you never run out of ideas. You never run out of ideas. You know, you may have to do a couple here and there repeated like we've done before, for sure, obviously over 300 shows, plus the YouTube shows. But I'm just saying, like, in general, if we're going in a certain direction and we want to talk about something and we don't have an idea really of what we want to talk about, there's always something to talk about. There's always something to talk about in this world in general. There's always something. All of those shows build up to the YouTube show, ladies and gentlemen. We are on YouTube. Give it up one time for YouTube. That's right. Obviously, you're watching us now on YouTube, and big shouts to YouTube. Just because we had that one incident last week, we're not going to shit all over YouTube as of yet, because they've been good to us up to this point, and we know that we need to do our part in saying, you know, I don't want to say stepping on or walking on eggshells, but I guess it kind of is walking on eggshells. But at the same time, still talking about stuff that is entertaining and keep it more on the light and fluffy tip and not pissing off YouTube. So YouTube is the big show of the week. YouTube is the big show of the week because it is obviously a YouTube show, meaning that there's a camera shoved in our face and then we're not just talking on a microphone, and it makes a big difference. And this is the one that we care about the most. And this is the one that I promote the most, for sure, 100%, and Nikki P as well. And, you know, we're trying to get to that point where we're pretty close. We're a couple months away, I would say, to monetizing on YouTube. And then once we do that, oh man, just you wait and see what happens after that, ladies and gentlemen. So that's basically the lineup. Obviously, you're watching on YouTube right now, but you can watch by just going to any browser and typing in youtube.com/C, like channel C, /Mixture of Variety Entertainment. So that's youtube.com/C /Mixture of Variety Entertainment. Or you can go probably how you went now, how you found us on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and in their search bar, you can type in Mixture of Variety Podcast or even Mixture of Variety, and our channel will pop right up. We have 20 episodes on season 1, 20 episodes on season 2, 9 episodes done on season 3, and this is season 3, episode 10. So we're doing the damn thing. We're actually halfway done with this season as well. So that's pretty exciting by itself. Another way is if you're following us on IG, if you're following us on Instagram, and if you're not following us on IG at this point of your life, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Get with it, ladies and gentlemen. Get with it. You'll see the craziest banners of your life, but you'll also be informed and you'll be in the know, and you'll know what we're talking about on that night's show, and you'll know what we're talking about on the YouTube show, and just all, you know, for all purposes, it just makes sense to follow us there if you watch the show at all. Okay. Subscribe, like, comment, and share, of course. And you can just go to the link in the bio on IG and you will click that and it'll take you right to our most recent show. All right. So with that being said, big shouts to Granny, who's somewhere in the audience with her 3-foot dildo doing her damn thing. You know, wild Granny. She has Alzheimer's and dementia. She's in her own little section in the VIP section, the Alzheimer's and dementia section, really. She's gang tatted and she does all the drugs in the parking lot and comes back into the studio audience and just chills like nothing happens. And one day she brought a 3-foot dildo into the show and we laughed hysterical and we couldn't believe it. And now she just brings it to the show every single day. And she is 101 years old and we love her to death. Big shouts to Granny. Big shouts to the Turtle Kid too, who's a part of the show. You'll see him on banners and whatnot. A lot of people are just like, who the fuck is a Turtle Kid? You have to go do your own research, but he is a part of the show as well. And you'll see him on all of our banners. I think you'll actually see him right there too. If you're watching this playback on YouTube, I think he's right there. I think so. So what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, is a topic that is dear to my heart because I suffer from it, and I have a dear best friend who suffers from it, and I have other people who suffer from different various mental illnesses, if not a combination of mental illnesses, and it's difficult. It's difficult to maneuver in this world, and it's difficult to do normal day-to-day life activities and things and just functioning as a normal person. I know a lot of people hate when I say that word. A lot of people don't like using that word. Normal person, you get what I'm saying. You guys know me. I don't care about language, vocabulary, and stuff like that. I'll call he. I still say he, him. I still say ladies and gentlemen all the time. I still say, So when I say normal, please don't get offended. But if you do get offended, I'm sorry about your luck. What I'm trying to say is that I am one of the people that are not normal, and I have to function in this day-to-day society. And it's hard enough. It is. It's hard enough to deal in this world. It's hard enough to maintain. It's hard enough just to do day-to-day activities, day-to-day life skills. It's hard enough dealing with our emotions and our thoughts and our triggers. It's a lot, it's a lot. It's a lot for a lot of people that suffer from these. And I am telling you right now that for me, my experience with mental illness is probably longer than half of my life when I realized that I started having some form of mental illness. And because these days you can say, well, everybody has mental illness. Well, a lot of people nowadays, because of everything that's been going on in the world in the last couple of years, because of what's continuing to go on right now as we speak, because of the fear of the unknown and fear in general, and not knowing what's going to happen next type vibe. Yes, a lot of people have anxiety that haven't had anxiety before, and a lot of people have depression. And I'm not minimizing that at all. I'm definitely going to validate it right now. If you actually have anxiety, whether it's social anxiety or, some type of activity anxiety, like when you're doing stuff with other people, or fear of the unknown, or if it's more like a fear-based thing, or whatever type of anxiety, or if you actually have depression, I'm going to validate it right now, and I'm going to say that, yes, welcome to the club. You have some type of mental illness. A lot of people that are, a lot of people can have situational anxiety, and a lot of people can have situational depression, which is kind of like what we were doing now, right? A lot of people, if they, lose their business and they don't know what's going on with the shot, and they're kind of like, their world is turned upside down. They're going to be depressed for a short period of time. And then there's people that are clinically depressed, that are depressed for a very long period of time, if not just a long period of time, a very long period of time. And those are the people, for the most part, that are on medications and that stay on medications. So we are going to talk about medications because I'm on several of them. That's not the only reason why we're going to be talking about them, but I want to discuss them because that is one of the different outlets that are there for people with mental illness. It's not the cure-all. It's not the the one thing that people go to that just say this is the godsend. This is what works, and don't worry about anything else. I wish it was like that, but it's not like that. And a lot of people have different opinions when it comes to medication, because of the stigma, basically the stigma behind it. So we're going to get right into it. And I have a page that we're going to be sharing. I'm going to be sharing on the screen, and we can go through it. I just wanted to say that I hope this is not a triggering episode. I hope, if anything, this is a helpful episode, and I hope this helps you through your journey, or it made sense at least. If somebody is suffering from mental illness, and believe me, you don't have to watch the show. Just if you're listening and watching right now, and you don't have a mental illness, or even if it's a short-term situational anxiety or depression, you can still watch the show. If you know somebody that's struggling with mental illness, please watch the show. And tell people about the show and share it like your life depends on it, because we got to get the word out. And a lot of it is hush hush when it comes to mental illness. A lot of people, even to this day, it's a lot better. Just like a lot of things, it's been a lot better in 2022 than it was maybe in 2012, 2002, 92. Let's keep going back in time every 10 years. Yes, it is better than that. But at the same time, we have to continue to break the stigma. We have to help people, because the help is out there, but people are not going to know about it. And people are going to feel a certain way, and they're going to feel ashamed and embarrassed and all these things to even ask for help. And then what? Then it's just too late. By that time, it's just too late, ladies and gentlemen. It could just be undiagnosed, and the person just has a horrific life, an awful, terrible life, or even worse, suicide. There's a lot that can go into this. So I feel like we're all in this together, and I feel like we're going to just go through this page by page. It's not that long, but I just want to go through these with you guys and then discuss it. All right, sounds good? Fantastic. Okay. What is mental illness? Guess we should have started the show like that, or we could have. A lot of people don't really know exactly what is mental illness. What exactly is that? Ooh, mental illness is scary. As soon as people find out that they have mental illness, or that somebody else has mental illness or potentially mental illness, right away they get scared of the person and they treat them a certain way and they judge and they look at them funny, right? Doesn't matter, without knowing anything, just hearing the word. That's why we have to break the stigma. What is mental illness? Mental illness, also called mental health disorder, can significantly affect you, how you feel, think, and behave. Mental illness is a health issue that you can receive support from a range of health professionals, including a general practitioner, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, neurologist, counselor through public system services, or private providers, or community sector organizations. So obviously there's a lot of help out there, like I said, but with people not breaking that stigma and not feeling comfortable to, come forward and actually say something that they have a problem or that somebody else has a problem, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter that there's all these health professionals out there. All right, the main types of mental illness. There are different types of mental illness, and they're all in their own category. And then there's like subcategories, if you will. These include depression, anxiety. These are the ones that I was talking about before. And let me just stop there, because I want to just say, when we're talking about depression and anxiety, there's definitely different levels of this and different sliding scale on a spectrum, if you will, because you can be depressed that, your goldfish died, or, you had a pet died or something like that, and you feel like you were depressed for a couple days, and you just felt awful and you felt really sad, and you would tell people that you were depressed. But people that were suffering from mental illness that were actually on a different side of that sliding scale would say, what are you talking about? You were just sad for a couple days. I was in bed for a week and a half and I didn't shower or eat or get out of bed. I just slept. So obviously there's different stages. There's different levels to this. Again, not to say that it's not validated, but people have to understand when they're labeling something, if they think they know what they're talking about, and they really don't. Because even that situational depression and situational anxiety could go away, but the long-term chronic depression or anxiety is not going to go away, and you need medications for it. Again, that's a sliding scale. So you have depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, mood disorder, personality disorder, eating disorder. Okay. So those are the main ones. Now we're going to just break it down. Depression and anxiety. The most common mental illness and anxiety is anxiety and depression. That's kind of what we were just talking about. It is pretty normal to experience tension, anxiety, or sadness at points within your life, of course. Something happens that shifts your core, that shifts your foundation, that shifts, changes your life. Some type of life-changing thing. You get in a car accident, you end up with a sickness, or somebody close to you dies, or even you lose a job or a breakup or something like that. These are things that will cause situational, temporary depression and anxiety for the most part. But again, this is that sliding scale. Because everybody, I would say just about everybody, every human being has some type of depression and anxiety within their life at some point. It may become overwhelming to the point where a person has difficulty with daily activities like work or spending time with friends. Okay, now we're shifting that sliding scale over to a little bit. And now it's getting more intense, more severe. Some people might struggle to get out of bed or care for themselves physically. And if anxiety is really severe, some people feel like they can't leave the house. There's actually a diagnosis called agoraphobia, which is exactly that. The anxiety is just so intense and so strong, so powerful, that it actually almost becomes overwhelming, and it actually almost becomes like a paranoia type feeling, where you can't leave the house. You're just afraid of leaving your house. You can't leave for whatever reason. You're afraid of being around people. You're afraid of traffic outside. You're afraid of driving. You're afraid of doing regular activities. You're afraid of just being. It's pretty terrible. It's pretty awful. I mean, just imagine right now, however you're feeling with your situational depression or situational anxiety or something like that, or just feeling a certain way on a certain day. But you still just went out and you went to work and you visited your significant other and you went food shopping and then you came home. Those are three things that a person that is in that state would never do, because they would never be able to leave their house. If you are having difficulty coping or are feeling overwhelmed, help is available. That's what we were talking about before, and that's what we will continue to talk about. Help is available, but we have to break the stigma. As well as family, friends, and colleagues. There are trained professionals who can support you. And that's kind of like what we listed above. Seeking and accessing help and support is not shameful. Okay? It's not shameful. Like I said, that is the first step. That is the first step. If you have all of these professionals and family and friends and people around you who care and love and want to support you, but you are feeling shameful or you're feeling embarrassed, you're not going to take that first step. And then sometimes that first step is all you need, because that first step will get you started talking to somebody, maybe put on a medication or two, maybe attending a group or something like that, or maybe just reading up more about it, going into a Facebook group or something like that. There are definitely groups and meetings everywhere, even online. There's some good ones. All right. So, what is psychosis? Psychosis is a severe mental illness where you can lose touch with reality. An episode of psychosis is often sudden onset, also sometimes called acute. During a psychosis episode, a person's ability to make sense of thoughts, feelings, and the world around them is seriously affected. Okay, so we just keep getting a more and more intense level of mental illness, if you will, because psychosis is no joke. Psychosis is not only are you just physically standing there in your apartment or your house and you can't leave and you can't do certain things. Now your own thoughts, feelings, and the world around them is affected. So now is when you start seeing, hearing, maybe, hallucinations, delusions, you're delusional, all these things. This is when this comes into play. And actually, we're going to get to it right now, as it says it right here. During a psychotic episode, someone may experience delusions and hallucinations. We just talked about that. Or someone hears, sees, smells, or tastes things that are not there. Psychotic episodes can be confusing and frightening to the person experiencing the episode and the people around them. This, to me, there are categories to mental health, like we talked about, but then there's also like subcategories, like I mentioned. In my opinion, okay, everybody has their own opinion, because there are mental health issues, and mental illness is not fun across the board. But in my opinion, psychosis, hallucinations, delusions are the worst kind of hallucination. Okay. And I suffer from a few. I have a few different diagnoses. Anxiety that's lasted years. Anxiety is sometimes that's on borderline, paranoia, but I take medication. I take medication. I take a lot of medication, actually. That's why I'm definitely going to always be an advocate for medication. But it's per person. It's different for each person. It's not a one shot cures all deal. PTSD, because of my drug use over a span of 17 years, I got PTSD from that. And my main, whatever you want to call it, diagnosis is bipolar. And I also take medications for that, which it was undiagnosed for a long period of time. And that's one of the reasons why I was using drugs and alcohol. Quick side note, and then we're going to continue. About 95% of people with mental illness has some type of drug addiction problem. And about 95% of drug addicted people with addiction problems have some sort of mental illness. Let that sink in for a second. I mean, it makes sense, right? Totally makes sense. Makes sense to me. Even if I didn't have either, it would totally make sense to me. They're intertwined. They're totally intertwined. And it is very sad. But if you pinpoint just one of those, you're not making a big enough dent, because you have to deal with two of those issues separately. I'm just talking from experience, because that's exactly what happened with me. It was a long period of time that I was just focusing on, actually about like 7 years or so, that I was just focusing on the drugs, keeping myself clean and sober, going to meetings, going to sponsor, doing step work. All my friends were, sober. Nothing was sober. All I was talking about was sober talk and this and this. And I lived that life. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It was a little extreme. It was. But the whole time I was doing that, I wasn't worrying about my undiagnosed bipolar or my diagnosed bipolar or taking medications while I was still using, or the shit show of medications that I've been on. Because you have to try so many, and then, let's try this. This doesn't work. This gives me horrible side effects. Makes everything worse. This makes me feel crazy. This is a bad combination. What if we add this? What if we do this? What if we change this? And until I really hit that head on, and until I really started focusing more on the mental illness and the drug addiction, because you can't do them at the same time. You just have to do them separately. It was a life changer for me. And that finally is when the door opened and I was able to see the light at the end of the tunnel and just say, oh, okay, now I got this. Now I got this, meaning like I understand. I understand now. And that's exactly what I did. So those are all my diagnoses, now that you guys know, now that you asked. But I had to say that. Got to give myself a little disclosure, as I'm doing the podcast. Why not? You guys already know this is the most authentic podcast that you're ever going to watch. The most authentic podcast and the most real and no holds bar. And, we don't hold anything back, and we're an open book, and we don't jump. I always say, I always explain it like this. Nikki P and myself, we don't jump into character when we're doing a podcast. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying a lot of people do that. I don't know if they do or not. I don't know them when they're not doing a podcast, like the main podcast that I watch and whatever. And now everybody and their mom has a podcast now these days anyway. But what you'll find here, Make Sure Variety, is that these are just our authentic selves. So this is not like, okay, get ready, costume check, makeup check, come sit in the seat and action. And now we're these two avatars, Patient Zero and Nikki P. No, these are we changed our names for a variety of reasons. Obviously, we don't want to go with just saying our real name on podcasts, but at the same time, it's like, this is the real us. This is the real us. And I feel like this is the first kind of topics between mental health and drug addiction that I wanted to discuss in the first place, that I wanted to have a podcast in the first place, because I wanted to help people who were suffering from those two things. Those two things branched out into this huge variety show where we could talk about anything, and there's never a dull moment, if you will, because we can talk about just life issues, and that never goes away. But these type of shows are my favorite shows to do, ladies and gentlemen. They truly are. Sobriety show, 2 weeks ago, and mental illness type of show. Anything where you guys can watch and you get entertained. 95% of the time, I'm hoping that is true on a YouTube show, especially, that you're going to be entertained. Okay, regardless, there's gonna be some entertainment. On entertainment, even me having a stroke when I'm talking and not even learning English or knowing English. You know what I mean? That's just, that's enough entertaining right there. Enough entertainment, but then the educational part and helping other people and, doing whatever. And that's just what we love to do also. So anytime we get a chance to do it on a YouTube show, it's a beautiful thing. All right. So yes, my point of all that, before I completely digressed, was I feel like Psychosis is probably the worst one. All of them are bad. All of them are terrible. All of them are such a difficult way to live in society and just to be as normal as possible, and want so bad to be normal, but being held back by your limitations of a mental illness. It is the worst feeling in the world. It's the worst feeling in the world. And sometimes you should just, because words are very powerful, right? So you should never say that you even have limitations. And you should never even say that you are held down. But sometimes in reality, you kind of are, in some ways. There's a lot that you can do. Focus on the things that you can do. And there's a small amount that you can't do. That's where your focus should not be. And especially if it's something with psychosis, schizophrenia, something like that, where you're hearing voices, you're seeing things, it's very, very hard to, first of all, get the right med combination. But if you do get the right medication combo, then it's very hard to live a normal life. All right, as you can see, I scroll down to how mental illness is treated. Most mental illnesses can be effectively treated or managed. Okay, that's a plus. Thank God for that. Recognizing the early signs and symptoms of mental illness is important. Yes, it is. But a lot of people don't want to even take notice, right? They don't even want to admit it. And once again, who's going to want to talk about that because of the stigma? This helps you access medical treatment quickly. The earlier treatment starts, the more likely you are to have a positive outcome. Yes, that is true. The first time I started the medication, I believe, my memory is really shot, probably from all the medications I take. I believe it was 2008. Could have been later. Could have been, I don't know when. If it was later, it was between 2008 and 2012 because that's when I went into my first rehab. So I was already on meds at that time. But yeah, anyway, I mean, it's always better for the individual. Once again, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's always better for the individual getting some type of meds early on before it really affects you to the point where a smaller dose is not going to, have the same effect and all that. And just because yourself, you don't want it to progressively get to that level of it being more dangerous or it being more like I feel like I have depressed, feelings for a couple days to in bed, not leaving my bed, not eating or showering for 2 weeks. The earlier treatment starts, I just read that. Some people experience only one episode of mental illness and fully recover. Okay, that is something that I don't know much about. I don't know about that life. I don't know about that life, but I'm assuming an example of that would be exactly what I'm talking about as far as situational depression or situational anxiety. I know for a fact that more people now, more than ever, in the last 2.5 years, with the pandemic going on and the war and a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear of the unknown, a lot of what's going to happen next. I know for sure that there was a lot of people that never had mental illness before that now have situational depression, situational anxiety, and different levels of that. And sometimes they're treated with meditation. I would say that. Sometimes they're treated with medication, or just speaking with a therapist is takes care of it without medication, or maybe a little of both, or maybe a group thrown in there, whatever it is. But eventually that's going to stop, and eventually those feelings will go away. That's just, I mean, I don't know. Is that irrational thinking? I'm hoping that this is going to go away soon. I don't know how long the war and the pandemic and all that is going to be going on forever. But I don't think it's going to be going on forever. I think there's going to be at some point where people get it under control and then they have that and they can look back and just say, I've experienced that at that time. And it was a very difficult time in my life, but I got past it. I moved on and I no longer have this mental illness of anxiety or situational depression. For other people, mental illness can recur throughout their lives. Unfortunately, that's just what it is for a large percentage. I don't know yet if I can throw myself or if I should throw myself in that category, because what I do know is that even starting medication from 2008 or around that time, there was a long period of time that I was using medication while I was using drugs and alcohol and hard shit. So that really wasn't, it was counterintuitive, you know what I mean? If not counteractive. So there's a long period like that. But then after some clean time, after being on medications for a long time and being stable, I'm one of those people where it's almost like I don't even know if I should mess up this stableness. You know, my foundation is pretty solid right now. Why would I want to do something that's going to make me wobbly again? And for me, if I'm wobbly, that's not a good place for me to be. If that foundation is not sturdy and it starts to wobble, who knows what can happen? I know myself, and you guys probably know yourself too. Who knows what can happen if you feel every aspect of your life starting to shake and starting to I don't know. Starting to break down. Types, treatments for mental illness. Some types of treatments include cognitive, behavioral, and psychological therapies. I swear by them. They're very, very important. There are people that can have mental illnesses that include anxiety, depression, PTSD. These are the main ones that come to mind. And like I said, there's a lot that are subgenre that we didn't talk about. These can definitely benefit from cognitive, behavioral, and psychological therapies because that's something that it can, shift, and you can feel a certain way for a certain amount of years or a certain amount of months, and then it can go away. I feel like maybe not as prevalent for bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or something like that, where it's not just going to be like, let's talk about the root cause of what's going on and what happened to you, like you can do in post-traumatic, stress disorder or anxiety and depression. Let's get to the root. Let's talk about it. It's like bipolar. I don't know. I just have this fucking mood disorder. I guess it helps. I'm not going to say it doesn't help, but schizophrenia, I don't know. I just hear these fucking things. I can't help it. It's just who I am. It's just what I am. That's another thing too. If you say it's not who you are, mental illness is not who you are. It's what you have. Okay, that's a little side note, a little side gem I could just put to the side right now. Mental illness is not who you are. It's what you have. So don't tell yourself, anyone out there suffering, don't say, you should say, I have bipolar, and not in saying something like, I'm bipolar. People just talk like that. Even just saying like I'm depressed or I'm anxious. Don't even say that. I have anxiety. I have depression. I have bipolar. I'm schizophrenic. No. You have schizophrenia. There's a difference of how you say it. Again, the power of words. All right, so then we got psychosocial support. We got psychiatric disability rehabilitation. Avoiding risk factors, yes, very important. And medication is what we talked about before. Treatment plans should be decided on in the partnership between the person and the treating team. A lot of times, like I said, you step over that line and you ask for help, and you don't, worry about being embarrassed or being shameful or anything like that. And you can actually push through that. If you can push through that, there can be a team around you, a support team, loved ones, everybody that will just be there for you and will carry you through this and help you through. Okay. So this is another way how we break the stigma, because we're all in this together. We're all going to help this individual, and we're all helping each other while we're doing it. How to support someone with mental illness. Well, show them this podcast. That's one. Share this podcast so everybody People with mental illness need support in the same way support is given to people with physical illness. You see somebody with physical illness, and right away it's like, oh my God, I feel so sorry. How can I help? Let me get this out of the way. Do you need any help? What can I do? Oh my God, I feel so sorry. When you find out that somebody has mental illness, which is another thing totally different, because with physical illness, for the most part, you see what's wrong with them and you feel bad right away. Mental illness, you don't see. And then someone could be dying inside, and someone could be borderline suicidal, and you won't see it because you just see this, right? You just see a human there. You're just like, oh, get out of the way, treat them like you would any scumbag on the street, and not care at all. No compassion. There's no compassion in this world anymore. You know, nobody cares. Everybody's cares about themselves and whatnot. But you see someone with a physical disability, oh, can I help? What can I do? Blah blah. So you feel a certain way. You feel a little bit of sympathy and whatnot. But then you look at the person with mental illness. Not only are you not going to know, but then as soon as you find out, for whatever reason, I know HIPAA and other shit is out there now that you're not going to just find out. Like you're going to be at work and just read their your coworker's file and just be like, oh, this person has bipolar. But for the most part, if that got out, there's no way you're going to look at that same person like someone with a physical disability and say, oh, what can I do to help? And let me be sympathetic. No, not at all. It's just like, oh, freak town. You know what I mean? Like freak show. Look out. Watch what you say around this one. He's going to go to the psych ward. He probably just came back from the psych ward. So it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. And I give you guys so much props for doing this and breaking through the stigma, because that's what it is about. It's really just telling all of society to fuck off. I need some help. I'm going to do what I need to do to make me the best me. That's what it's about. I'm going to do whatever I can do to make me the best me and to grow, proceed, be happy, and have a wonderful life. Have a wonderful life. Have a fulfilling, wonderful life, just like you. Ask questions, listen to their ideas. Most importantly, ask what you can do to help. I mean, not many people do that, but if you can do that and you are one of the people that actually do care, please do that. Some people don't seek help. They might isolate themselves to hide the symptoms. We talked about that. Include them in your everyday plans, like exercising or going to the cafe. If they say no, let them know that it is okay and invite them another time. Don't want to have anybody feel overwhelmed or feel like they have to or feel bad, about themselves or like pity themselves or beat themselves up because they chose not to go. It's more than that. It's more than just choosing not to go. Sometimes you can't go. I always feel that. I suffered from that for a long time, and I still do to this day. Making plans with friends, and then like something happens either the night before or the morning of, and I'll cancel because I'm just off that day, like really off that day. I know everybody has off days, but I mean like off like every symptom comes up type of day, or like bipolar, mood, manic, depression, whatever it is, all in one type of day. And there's just no way that I can do it. I can't do it today. And luckily I have friends in my life today that actually are totally fine with that, okay, and supporting and loving, instead of friends that, used to get really upset with me and not be understanding at all. So if they say another time, let them know. That's fine. Another time. Support them to get the care that they need and want. This may include helping them find information or going to appointments or just listening to how they feel, depending on what they tell you they need. All right. And then last but not least, there's a lot of helpful websites and resources. If you guys can see right now, if you want to do a screenshot or something like that, you can. And then you might have to make the screen bigger if you're not watching it already like that. On YouTube, you might be able to see it. Then there's links for young children, because it happens in young children too. It's not just adults. And that's a lot of times where they start. A lot of times, like most of them start actually. So those are some, if you want to screenshot that as well. And then here's a couple more. Mental Health Family and Friends. Mental Health Tribunal. There's definitely a lot of them. Okay, and then we'll finish up with this. Looks like 1-800-332-388. Oh, I have a different site. Okay, what I'll do is I'll post it on YouTube because I've done this before with the social, with the sobriety one. I'll just post a number and I'll post some websites down below, and you guys can just check it out when you want, and that way it'll just be better. You can actually, make some calls and just check the websites if you want. I don't think anybody's going to be in need right now where they need to call the number, but I'm going to put the number down anyway, and I'll put the website as well, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, that is the show for tonight. That was really great. A lot of great information, and I specifically chose that page just to talk about because it wasn't crazy long, but it was more like bullet points where we could just go through and talk about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And thank you guys for sharing and subscribing and liking and commenting and the whole nine. Happy Friday, TGIF, once again. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. And don't forget, next week, it is going to be a live show because, again, I know this is a premiere. Sometimes I'm just going to have to do a premiere if I'm just doing it myself or if I don't have a guest or Nikki P can't do the show with me. But that's here or there. That doesn't happen all the time. It's really just a week-by-week thing with this podcast. You never know what you're going to get. You never know. So once again, follow us on Instagram at Mixture of Variety. That's at Mixture of Variety, the name of the show, and you'll be in the know. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Nikki P next week. Have a good weekend, and we will see you next time. Don't say it.
This just in from Patient Zero.
It's the science fiction in me because I love science fiction movies, and this is something out of a movie. I mean, when you watch his videos, you can't help but to feel like you're there with him. You're alone